All right. Hey, everyone. Welcome back to another deep dive.
Hi, everyone.
Today, we're going to be doing something I'm really excited about. We're going to be tackling A-line dress patterns.
Yeah.
And we found this really cool YouTube tutorial, but it has a little bit of a twist.
Yeah, so the twist is that it's in German.
It's entirely in German.
It is.
So if you don't speak German, don't worry because we're going to break it all down for you.
Exactly. The video is called How to Draft Pattern for A-Line Dress, Trapeze Dress by the YouTube channel Werde Designer.
Oh, cool.
Which translates to Become a Designer.
I love that. So that's our mission for today, right?
Yeah.
To help everyone become a designer.
Yes, that is the goal.
And we've actually watched this whole video.
Yes, we have.
And there's some really interesting things. One of the things I found really interesting was this connection to the 10-panel skirt.
Yeah, it's an interesting technique that they use in this dress.
And then also like the seam expansion technique.
That's kind of the magic of this dress. It's,
It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So we're going to dive into all of that. And let's get started. So they start with...
They do.
What?
They start by assuming that you have a basic bodice pattern.
Okay.
What they call a Grundschnitt in German.
So a basic block.
Yeah, basically. And they have a separate video that you can watch if you need to make one. You can draft one.
Okay.
But they start with that.
So they're assuming that you have that already.
Yes. And then they also recommend that you make a paper template
Okay.
or a schablone.
I like that word.
It's a fun word.
Schablone.
So you don't have to keep redrawing your basic bodice.
Oh, that's smart. Okay.
Yes.
So after that, what do they do?
So then they move on to the dress itself. In the example that they're using, the dress is 90 centimeters long,
Okay.
which is important to keep in mind because they use that measurement several times throughout the video.
Got it. Okay.
So 90 centimeters is your magic number.
Magic number. Write it down, folks. And then
they start talking about the 10-panel skirt.
So, I was a little bit confused when I saw the 10-panel skirt because it's like, wait, we're making a dress. Why are we talking about a skirt?
Well, you'll see how it relates to the dress in a second.
Okay.
So the way this dress is shaped comes from how the panels are distributed in the 10-panel skirt.
Okay.
And it's all about getting that, flow in the drape.
So it's like the construction of the 10-panel skirt.
All right.
Yeah.
They have a separate video, which I'm sure we'll link to, that explains the 10-panel skirt in detail.
Okay.
But for this video, the dress kind of adopts how the panels are laid out for the 10-panel skirt for its own shape.
Okay, so that's interesting. It's
Yeah.
like we're taking the magic of a skirt and
Right.
putting it into a dress.
Yes, exactly.
I like it.
So next up, we have the calculation of Mehrweit.
Okay, Mehrweit, what is that?
So Mehrweit is basically just ease.
Ease. Okay.
Yeah, it's the extra width that you add to your garment.
Beyond your measurements.
Yes, beyond your measurements. And it's, for fit and, to get that A-line shape, that flow.
Okay, got it.
In the example, they use a hip measurement of 100 centimeters, and they add 50 centimeters of Mehrweit.
50 centimeters. That seems like a lot.
It is a lot,
Okay.
but you have to remember that they are working with a quarter of the pattern,
Okay.
what they call a Viertelschnittteil,
Okay.
which is just a quarter of the pattern piece.
Okay, so if it's 50 centimeters of ease, and we're only working with a quarter, we divide 50 by 4.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
So you get 12.5 centimeters.
Okay, 12.5 centimeters of ease. All right.
And then this is where things get a little interesting.
Okay, tell me.
Instead of just adding that 12.5 centimeters to the side seam, they divide it even further.
Okay.
So they divide that 12.5 centimeters into fifths.
Fifths, okay.
And they make markings along the hip line.
Okay.
Like 15th, 25th, 25th.
Okay.
And they do this on both the front and the back pattern pieces.
Okay, so they're basically,
Yeah.
instead of just adding all of that ease to the side seam,
Right.
they're kind of
Right. They're distributing it.
distributing it throughout,
Yeah.
using fifths as the measurement.
Yeah.
Okay, why would they do that?
Well, if you added all of that ease to the side seam, you would get a dress that's,
Too much fabric.
too much fabric. Exactly.
Okay, so it's basically to avoid that, like,
Right.
tent look.
Exactly. So by distributing it,
It makes sense.
you get a much nicer drape and flow.
Okay, very cool.
So and that's actually where that 10-panel skirt inspiration comes in.
Oh, okay, so tell me more.
So they use those fifths as cutting points.
Wait, cutting points?
Yes.
What do you mean?
So they draw lines that go through those fifths, perpendicular to the hip line,
Okay.
and they cut along those lines.
Whoa, hold on. So they're cutting into the pattern?
They are,
Okay.
but They don't cut all the way to the shoulder seam,
Okay.
just up to a certain point.
Oh, okay.
And that allows them to pivot and spread those sections that they've cut.
Oh, okay. So it's like we're making our own panels.
Right, exactly.
Right.
Like little mini panels,
Yeah.
just like the 10-panel skirt.
Wow. Okay, this is blowing my mind.
I know.
This is really cool. All right, so we've got these little panels now.
Yeah.
What happens next?
So then what happens is they use that to create the seam expansion.
Okay.
Because, we have all that ease, so now we need to expand the seams.
Okay.
And they do that by pivoting those sections, spreading them out, and then that creates this really cool drape.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah, it's a very clever technique.
So that's how they're mimicking the 10-panel skirt, but in a dress.
Exactly.
Wow. Okay, so this is really cool. I'm really fascinated by this technique already, and we're just getting started. So what else is next?
Well, now we move on to the neckline.
Okay, tell me about the neckline.
So they changed the neckline to a boat neck, or a U-boot neckline, as they say in German.
I like that.
Yeah, it's fun.
U-boot.
Yeah.
Okay, so how do they do that? How do they change it to a boat neck?
So they widen the neckline, they make it deeper.
Okay.
And they also specifically say to draw the neckline perpendicular to the center front.
Okay, that makes sense. So it's nice and symmetrical.
Yes.
Okay, very cool.
They also say that you could add a stand-up collar.
Oh, fun.
Yeah.
Or facing.
Yeah.
Okay, so they're giving us options. I like that.
Lots of options.
What?
And then they do something called Ausschneiden and Aufdrehen.
Ausschneiden and aufdrehen. Okay, tell me about that.
It basically means cut and pivot.
Cut and pivot. Wait a minute, we're cutting again.
Yes.
My heart can't take this.
It sounds scary, but it's very controlled.
Okay.
So what they do is they cut into the pattern piece,
Okay.
but they stop short of the shoulder seam,
Okay.
and that lets them pivot and spread those pieces.
Okay, so it's like
Yeah.
almost like we did before with the...
With the panels.
Yeah, with the panels. Okay.
Yeah, so it just creates a little more room,
Got it.
for that ease that we talked about.
Okay, that makes sense. And then what about the back? Do they do anything special with the back of the dress?
So with the back, they pretty much follow the same steps as the front.
Okay.
In terms of, the ease distribution, the shaping,
Okay.
it mirrors the front.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, so you don't end up with one side.
Wonky.
Wonky. That's a good word for it.
All right, so this is incredible.
It is.
Like, I'm already learning so much.
Yeah, it's a lot to take in.
And we're not even done yet. Like, we're just getting started.
We're just getting started. There's so much more to cover.
I can't wait to dive into the next steps and see how it all comes together.
Too.
This is really fascinating.
It is. It's a really cool technique. So going back to that seam expansion,
Yeah.
It's really interesting how they take inspiration from that 10-panel skirt to create the drape.
Yeah, like I'm trying to visualize it in my head. It's like we're making panels within the pattern itself.
Right, exactly. And it's kind of like, remember they said, if you just add all that ease to the side seam, you
Right.
get that, like,
That'd
way
be
too much fabric.
Yeah, like way too much fabric on the sides.
Exactly. And nobody wants that.
Yeah.
Like a tent.
Yeah.
So instead, they distribute the ease
Mhm.
using those fists that we talked about.
Okay.
And they do this by making those strategic cuts
Right.
along the lines that go through the fifth markings.
Okay.
And then remember, they stop short of the shoulder seam
Right.
so they can pivot and spread those sections.
Yeah. So it's not just like a straight cut all the way up.
Yeah.
No.
It's like
a...
it's very controlled,
Yeah.
and it creates like little channels almost
Okay.
for the fabric to flow through.
I like that visual.
Yeah. So instead of it all bunching up,
Yeah.
it's evenly distributed.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So thinking back to the 10-panel skirt, it's almost like each of those panels
Right.
contributes to the overall, like, flow.
Exactly. And the volume.
Right, the volume and the drape.
And so they're mimicking that within the dress pattern
Okay.
to get that same effect.
Wow. Okay, so cool.
I know, it's pretty cool, right?
Yeah.
So next up we have the hemline.
Okay, the hemline. So how do they shape the hemline?
So they start by they have this measurement, 2.5 centimeters,
Okay.
that they use at the side seam.
Okay, so 2.5 centimeters in from the side seam.
Yeah. So they mark a point along the hemline,
Okay.
2.5 centimeters in.
Okay, I'm visualizing this. Okay, keep going.
And then they connect that point to the armhole with a diagonal line.
Okay.
So it creates a curve.
Got it.
So it's not just a straight hemline.
Oh, okay. So it's like a slight curve.
Yeah, a slight curve.
Okay.
And that helps create the swing and the fall of the dress.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
Yeah, and they kind of emphasize this by comparing it to just adding all the ease to the side seams again, where you would just have like all this excess fabric hanging there.
Yeah. Not a good look.
Yeah, yeah.
It's amazing to me how just like Little adjustments like that, like 2.5 centimeters,
Yeah.
can make such a difference.
Yeah, they can. They really can.
Wow. Okay. So you've got the 2.5 centimeters at the hemline. We're connecting it to the armhole,
Right, yeah.
creating that nice curve.
Yeah.
Anything else with the hemline?
No, that's pretty much it for the hemline.
Okay, cool.
So then they talk about Ausschneiden and Aufdrehen again.
Oh, okay. More cutting and pivoting.
More cutting and pivoting.
I'm getting nervous.
Don't be nervous.
I know. It's controlled.
It's controlled. They know what they're doing.
Yeah.
And, you know, they do this to subtly reshape certain areas of the pattern because we have all this ease, remember?
Right.
We got to do something with it.
Yeah.
So they make a cut into the pattern piece,
Okay.
but they stop short of the shoulder seam so they can pivot and spread that section. It's like they're giving it a little bit of a stretch,
Gotcha.
you know, to make room for the ease.
Okay, so it's all about manipulation.
Yes.
But in a good way.
Yes. Controlled manipulation.
Controlled manipulation, yes.
And so, you know, the back piece of the dress pretty much mirrors the front in terms of all these techniques.
Okay, so they don't really talk about it too much.
No, they don't. It's kind of like, just do the same thing on the back.
Okay, got it. So it's symmetrical.
Yes.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, you don't want to end up with one side looking completely different from the other.
Yeah, we want a nice balanced dress.
Exactly.
All right, so what else is there to learn about this amazing A-line dress?
Well, one interesting thing they mention is that you can actually use this pattern as a starting point for a trapeze dress.
Oh, a trapeze dress.
Yeah.
Those are so flowy and
Yeah, they're very full.
elegant.
Yeah.
So wait, but how? How can you take an A-line dress pattern and turn it into a trapeze?
Well, if you think about it,
Mm-hmm.
the A-line silhouette is already pretty loose and flowing.
Right.
So it's not that big of a leap to go from A-line to trapeze.
Okay, so it's just like a few adjustments here and there.
Yeah, a few
That
adjustments.
was really cool.
Yeah, so you can use the same basic principles
Yeah.
and create a different style of dress.
Okay.
So it's a versatile
I
pattern.
like it. Versatility. So this is amazing. Like, I feel like I'm getting like
Uh.
a master class in pattern making.
Yeah, it's a lot to take in, but it's really cool stuff.
Yeah, and we're not even done yet.
Not even close.
There's still so much more to learn
Mhm.
about this dress.
Exacts.
I'm so excited to keep going.
Me too.
Yeah, it's really cool how they take something like a 10-panel skirt
Mm.
and apply it to a dress.
It is. It's kind of like you would never think of those two things going together.
I wouldn't, but then when they explain it, it's like,
It makes sense.
yeah, it totally makes sense.
Yeah.
It's like,
It's all about those underlying design principles.
Yeah.
Right.
they can be applied to different garments.
Right. So it's like, keep your eyes peeled
Exactly.
for inspiration in unexpected places.
You never know where you're going to find it.
Yeah, exactly. Like I'm already thinking about all the other patterns I have
Yeah.
and how I could maybe incorporate some of these techniques.
Right, like maybe you have a pattern that you're like, oh, it's a little too much fabric here.
Right.
And you could use that cutting and pivoting technique
I know.
to distribute the ease a little bit better.
Yeah. It's like a whole new world of possibilities has opened up.
Exactly.
That's from watching this one video.
Yeah, it's really inspiring.
Yeah, very inspiring. And, one thing I really appreciate about this video is that they really emphasize
Mm,
avoiding that too much fabric look.
they do, yeah. They're very adamant about that.
Yeah, like they even showed...
They showed a side-by-side comparison
Right.
of a dress that was shaped correctly and then a dress where they just added all the ease to the side seam. It was like night and day.
It was, yeah.
I was like, whoa.
One looked like a beautiful flowing A-line dress.
Yeah,
And the other one looked like a sack.
yeah, like a tent or a parachute or something.
Parachute, yeah.
So it really highlighted the importance of
The importance of precision and, taking the time to...
distribute the ease.
Yeah, and understand those little details.
Right.
Those little details that make a big difference.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's all about those little things
It is.
that add up to the final garment.
Yeah, it's all about intentionality.
Yes, intentionality.
Knowing what you're doing and why you're doing it.
Exactly.
It's not just about following the steps blindly.
Right.
It's about understanding the principles behind it
Right.
and being able to apply those to other garments.
Yeah, it's like they're giving us the keys to the kingdom.
They are. They're empowering us to become designers.
I love it. So to all of our listeners out there, we hope you've enjoyed this deep dive
Yeah.
into A-line dress pattern making.
Go forth and create.
Yeah, get out there, try this technique.
Experiment.
Don't be afraid to cut into your pattern pieces.
As long as it's controlled.
Yes, in a controlled manner.
Yeah.
And let us know how it goes.
We'd love to see what you come up with.
Yeah, share your creations with us.
And until next time.
Keep those creator sparks flying.
Yes.
We'll catch you on the next deep dive.